moving. We had one or two people that said, I see Tracy's, up there.
Yeah.
I'm on my way in. I should be there in just a couple minutes.
Okay, Tracy, just come on in when you get here.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, so the only one we're missing is Mary. And I think she was gonna come in.
So we can get started.
Yeah, so we can get started.
Yeah.
All right, well, the reason for the agenda today is because of a lot of the issues we've had with an understanding of what our actual duties are and what it is that we're allowed to do and what it is we're supposed to do.
Sure.
So I figured the easiest way to do that was just to go over the bylaws, the resolution CO1, which basically talks about just what the committees in general, what those rules are. And then C15 specifically talks about the Aquatics Committee. And then on a very lesser detail is Article X, which basically just sets the tone for the relationship between any of the advisory committees and the OP staff. And just so again, we're starting off kind of at an important part is Article X specifically says that the committees cannot give orders to the general manager or any other employees of the association.
It does say the word orders.
Yes,
Okay.
specifically it says shall not give orders.
Okay.
Now, it also goes on to say we may, however, request routine administrative assistance and necessary office supplies. Basically, what this has evolved into is we also don't talk to any staff members. We don't talk to Michelle, who is the administrator. We don't talk to any of the staff members. And the people we're really supposed to talk to is our liaison or other board members. And just as kind of a reminder of why this is important, at our last meeting, we were going over some of the issues we saw with maintenance at several places. So Maria, on her own, the following, or that Sunday, went around to all of the pools. And she was just looking to see what type of maintenance issues there might be, or if there were any issues at all that the committee should look at. What she should not have done is apparently she interacted with staff at each of the pools, pointing out that this should be fixed, that should be fixed, or whatever. So we are allowed, and we'll get into where this is stated, to look at things and to even take photographs. We are not allowed to specifically talk to any of the staff. So any issues that we find, we bring here to the committee. We'll discuss it. We'll either decide to send information to the board, or we'll decide to send something to info@oceanpines.org. So that's kind of where we're going to start with all this.
What if it's something that you feel ought to be addressed? Let's say we meet today and tomorrow I see something and I feel like it ought to be addressed sooner than a month from now.
Then you should send something to
Okay.
info@oceanpines.
Mhm.
And that, for the most part, gets a fairly quick response. It may not be the same day, but within a day or two, we're usually getting a response.
So with respect to taking pictures and things, what I can tell you, just because I know some of the staff, And some of the feedback that they've given me is that, they want to do a good job. They feel like they're doing something wrong when they see that, you know what I mean? And if they're not comfortable. And to me, I think that's more of a communication or this solid wall that is between the committee and, you know what I mean, and the team. I'm not saying we should be talking to them, but I think for all of us, if we do see something, there just needs to be a lowering of the temperature, a bit of alleviation. They don't see us as wanting to help.
Right.
They see us more in an adversarial. Exactly. And that's what I'm not comfortable with, because that's what I didn't sign up for. And so I think there's a way you can do things. But walking in announcing that we're from the advisory committee, that and a dime won't even get you bubble gum. You know what I mean? And
we
so
shouldn't do that.
so I guess my question would be, what can we do to lower that temperature and to wipe away some of the negative things that, quite frankly, we've created? Because until we do that, and maybe Michelle and John can help with that. Maybe they can explain to their staff that we're not there looking to catch them doing things wrong, because if we are, then again, that's not what I signed up for. We're there to catch them doing things right. And we're there to, if we see something and John's busy, Michelle's busy, this is high season, make sure that they're aware of it. We're not working against them, we're working with them. And so I guess, I keep role playing in my head, what can we, how can we get that? Doesn't have to, it's not a partner, that the board doesn't want it to be a partnership. I get that, I understand that, but it shouldn't be adversarial or be viewed as adversarial.
I agree 100%. I think we all do. I think the problem is that if you do see something, you don't announce it right then. If you happen to have your camera with you, you take photo of it. If it's something that can wait until the meeting, we hold off doing anything. If it's something that is either dangerous or needs immediate attention, you send it
That's
to info.
different. Yeah.
But again, I think part of the issue was more the fact that some previous members were interacting, not just with our committee, but some other committees have also had issues where their members inappropriately interacted with staff. And I guess to some extent, it's justifiable that both the board and John have tried to tighten things up so that the staff doesn't feel like they're being confronted or that anybody's angry with them.
Right.
So,
But they do.
but
Yeah, we-
they
So
do.
they do, and we have in our minutes previous, I just want to say, because you said to some degree, this is a valid complaint on their part, and maybe it is due to history. But I'd like to say that since Michelle has come on, our minutes reflect multiple times where we've said the pool staff did a really good job on this, or this went really well over such and such holiday season. So we try to give kudos in our minutes. I recall, not at this amenity fair, but previous amenity fair, I saw Michelle all by herself at the aquatics table, and I went over and I said, I'm on the committee. Is there anything I can do to help you? Like, would you like me to relieve you for a few minutes? And she looked at me. She just didn't even thank me. She just said no.
Well, because
So,
that's-
but what I'm saying is, I feel that we have reached out and we have tried to be positive, certainly since there's history. I'm not negating that.
right.
Since Michelle has come, and I agree with you that perhaps we need some assistance here to lower the temperature, either from the board in coordination with John and with Michelle, maybe just John and Michelle. I don't know what the answer is, but,
Interesting.
no,
You are.
but.
Yeah, you
I
can't.
mean, unfortunately, I don't know how Maria approached the staff, but that was a little bit of a step backwards for us.
Yeah, yeah,
So I think as we go through and look at the specifics in C15 that apply to us, we can get a little bit better idea of what we can and can't do, what we're supposed to do and not supposed to do, I guess I should say. And moving forward, try to stay in those guidelines. So,
So I agree, as long as the board agrees with those guidelines. And those guidelines are communicated to everyone, to John, to Michelle, to whoever, handles when we send things to them. Because I don't think that's the case right now.
well, and hopefully, because this meeting is being recorded, we're going to go through and hit all of the highlights, what we're supposed to be doing and what we're not supposed to be doing, and then get our interpretation of the rule so that the board can come back at some point and say, you're right on all this, or you're wrong on part of it. Remember, we sent a letter to the entire board back, I think it was mid or late October, that basically said, we're trying to follow C15, which is outlining what we're supposed to do. We're getting mixed messages. This is what our interpretation is. We don't want to overstep our bounds. Let us know if we're interpreting this right. We got no response at all. So we're going to go over it all again. We're going to let the record show what our interpretations are. And then if we're not interpreting something correctly, we can either, if there is a method, go back and change the resolution and get it approved by the board, or just to make sure that the board and everybody else is understanding why we feel we're supposed to be doing stuff.
I think that was the disconnect. This says right here, certain things.
Right, right. And you would suspect that the board has read all of this, but we're going to make sure that this group is aware of what the rules are, and we're going to assume the board knows, and then we can hopefully move forward in a better light. Okay? So yeah, what we're going to do first is I'm down to the discussion part. In the interpretation of C15, 3A. What 3A says, and it's basically one of our functions is to advise the board on methods of promoting interest in aquatics. So in our original interpretation, we felt that this implies that anything that increases membership and or interest in aquatics is open for review, including the appearance of the aquatics facility. Appearance and safety concerns are an important factor for residents who are considering the purchase of a pool membership. Does anybody have any thoughts, comments on that? That kind of goes back, Karen, to what you had just said, that, the appearance of things makes a big difference in whether people are comfortable in a situation. So the recent information that we sent to Infrared Ocean Pines was talking about some of the facilities and the restrooms and the condition that they were in. Outside people, as you said, some of the swim teams from outside of Ocean Pines come here for swim meets. People that are visiting come here, and the appearance is important, especially if one of our goals is to increase membership. Nobody's going to come to a pool if they don't think it looks clean or that for whatever reason, it's not appealing, they're not going to sign up. So in my mind, that's why this is important in anything having to do with what would keep people interested or not interested in aerobics, in aquatics as a whole, is something that we should look at. Any other thoughts or? Okay. 3B, C 15, says that aquatic, I'm going to read it exactly. Advising the board regarding aquatic policy and operations, including recommendations for improving the aquatic operations. Aquatic operations, that term implies everything related to aquatics, including maintenance of the building and facilities. That's our interpretation. Now, thoughts?
I just wanted to add that something like the swipe card thing would fall under that also.
Right, because in most of our recommendations have been about things that we feel would improve the overall operations and again get more members.
The customer experience too.
Yeah,
Highlight the customer experience, make it a good one.
And when you say we feel, a lot of what we feel has been because of recommendations of many, many people in the community
Yeah.
saying this is what we'd like to see and these are the things that are important to us. So,
And the thing that I think is important for everybody here and the board and anybody else, a lot of people know that we're all on this committee. So when they do see things, they tend to come to us. In fact, just a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, we got a letter from a couple that had concerns about pool closing. It's supposed to stay open, the aqua pool, until 7 o'clock. The guards started not closing, but started cleaning things up at 5:30. And there was a discussion about whether guard doing it that early made the pool members feel like they should leave, even though it wasn't time. So I got some pushback about the fact that, people should notify info@oceanpines.org direct. They shouldn't be talking to you guys. Well, it specifically says in one of the next ones, in 3D, that is part of our duty.
I think yes, and it is. And I think that that's where we can really be beneficial to John and Michelle and to the board, because if, it doesn't matter who hears the thoughts of the people, as long as somebody does.
Yeah.
I think
that's right.
where we can maybe do better, if we can, I think it all goes back to Michelle understanding we're not an adversary. You know what I mean? Like, to me, that, this is more, the lifeguard did nothing wrong.
No.
There was nothing wrong with the operation, being a lifeguard. I understand, I get what they were doing, and they're absolutely correct. But if we can, when we get those things, I always take I take a step back, I hear them, but I also take a step back with the experience that I have and say, I'm sorry you felt that way. I've been in restaurants that I felt the same way. With that said, however, these folks are working long hours. They're cleaning up all through the day. When it's quiet, it's a little bit more obvious, but your point is well taken. And, we'll make sure that maybe Michelle can work with the team and have them be a little more quiet or something like that.
or maybe even something more benign. We'll make sure that Michelle is aware of this concern.
Exactly. And, again, when somebody comes to me to talk about something that they see, or I try to balance the business side of it Understanding why, I know what they're doing, why they're doing it, right? But yet the concern and, you know what I mean, of the individual. But I think it's assumed, which is why you got that feedback, that we automatically are on the other side, that there's sides. And there shouldn't, and if we can get to the point where there are no sides, we represent everybody. And we have trust and buy-in with the aquatics group. You know what I mean? I don't think this would be the rub that it is. And I don't know how to get there. I think that's where we really need the board's help. That's where we need John and Michelle's help. Like, they need to understand that we're with them. We're not against them.
Well,
Right,
and
and I'll-
those people in that letter even had a recommendation. They're saying, could some of those other people who are just sitting there watching, like the person who checks in people in the pool, could those people help them clean up instead of it just being the lifeguard? So the people even tried to recommend something that would help so they didn't have to do it an hour and a half
Right.
before closing while they're still trying to eat their dinner.
But see,
Right.
that's the level of operations I feel we probably ought to not get into.
Exactly.
Like,
Right.
however
Right.
Michelle wants to manage her staff, Michelle
Right.
manages her
Yeah.
staff.
And to her credit, she met with them. And just put some things into place. I mean, could it happen again? Sure. When you've got a handful of people, and you know what I mean? But could you share what?
Yeah, what did she
happened?
do?
I know that she did meet with them, and I know that, she explained, what happened, and her, and just let them know, like, don't be as obvious, and you know what I mean? I wasn't there, but this is the feedback that she did her job. She does her job.
You're saying she met with the employees?
Yeah, she-
Not the
Oh,
other.
yeah, no. She met with the employees. And, we also have to trust that when we pass something on, it's in the right hands. We're not the aquatics police. Like, it's in the right hands. We've done our part by passing it on, hopefully lowering the temperature a little bit. And just trust that Michelle is handling it.
She does. She's amazing.
Yeah, she
She's
is.
She does a good job. And
She's
again, with
awesome.
this specific letter, my response back to the couple was, thanks for letting us know that you have a concern.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send this to info@oceanponds.org, and at our next meeting, we'll discuss it and we'll let you know what happens. So again, all we did was forward something to the right people and let them take care of it. It's not our responsibility to get involved in the operations. So however, Michelle, John, whoever decides to handle it, that's up to them. But it is a responsibility for us to pass the information.
Correct. Yeah.
But that's all we should be doing.
That's all we should be
But,
doing.
but wouldn't it,
I think that's
I
awesome.
just, to play a little bit of devil's advocate, I'd like to say, since we are on the committee, it would be nice to get feedback. In other words, maybe not so much this, it's purely operations, but we've made other suggestions, like, fixing the locker room or whatever, or fixing the steps, and we never heard back again. And so as a committee member, I have to say, I feel like I'm talking in an echo chamber sometimes.
Yes, agreed.
So what am I doing here?
Well, and interestingly, one of those recent back and forths, it was pointed out, I don't remember if it was Linda or Vogels, but they said, your committee sent in a proposal and we responded. Well, we did get a response.
I saw
And
that.
that happened apparently on 2 occasions.
Right.
And we have not gotten a response back from any.
Well, and that's just complicating
But isn't
this whole, it's like a vicious circle right now. This is just complicating the whole situation. And then if you just take a step back a moment and you read how many times we send the same thing and just reword it. We're beating a dead horse.
Yeah.
If I'm the board, I'm gonna be, oh my God, how many times are these people gonna give me this? And yet, we don't get feedback, so this is why we do it.
If they get it, we don't even know if the board gets it. I mean, I guess sometimes we do, because the sunset and cocktails thing, we heard about it at the board meeting, but, because it was actually brought up at the board meeting,
Right.
but hardly anything else is, and then nobody ever gets back to us. So what, I mean, you do reach a point where you're like,
There's a disconnect there. There should be
Yeah.
policy. There should be, you get something and you say, I got it, or we're working on it, I'll look at it, or something.
Yeah.
or,
And I'd like
It's
to
going
know
into the
why.
ozone.
You know,
the answer's no,
Just
please let us know why.
right, exactly.
Or
It
if you
could be
can't
as
get
simple
it,
as, we don't think it's necessary.
right. Or we can't get to that this year, we'll get to it next year, we don't have it in the budget, or, you know, we don't feel there's enough
Any
interest, or
acknowledgement.
something.
Yeah,
So, that falls to the role of the liaison.
I would think so,
The
yeah.
connector.
But that's not spelled out anywhere.
It's
Is it?
not that I found, no. Now it could be buried somewhere, but
I think it is someplace. They have that someplace.
I mean, I've not sat on any other committees, but is this typical how committees function?
Board committee
at our
liaisons.
I mean, I sit on committees and.
No, I mean at our. Yeah, no, I'm on other committees, but I mean,
So
for
I don't
those
know.
ones, I'm just wondering, is this typical of how the relationship between the committee, the liaison and the board and the staff all function? Because that's really what we're talking about. It's a little bit like a four-way relationship when you think about it.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering, is it unique to this committee? Is it typical of all the committees? Are there some committees that get more feedback than others? If so, why? You know, I don't know. I can't wrap my head around.
Would you know, because you know a lot of the other committee chairs, or do they run into the same?
There are-
Vacuum?
some of them, yes. Some of them, and you're right. On C01, relationships B2, talks about the board committee liaison. And the president of the association, president of the board, shall appoint one or more directors as liaisons for each committee. The routine communication, especially through the liaison, doesn't prohibit the chair.
Sorry, you guys, sorry.
You're right. From direct communication with the president of the board at any time. The liaison is not a member of the committee, should not direct deliberation. It doesn't say anything
Doesn't say.
about them responding to recommendation.
I think that, I honestly think that should be revised.
Well,
I mean, it's not for us to revise it, but
Right.
I understand that, but
It's
I mean,
creating.
Yeah.
we'll come back to that. Okay, moving on, 3C, development of budget proposals and programs, activities, facilities, and staff as it pertains to aquatic activities. It specifically lists facilities, and that term usually includes buildings supporting the operation, and improving the facility requires the proposals to be included in the budget process by way of a proposal. So some of the suggestions we made about maintenance issues, we have at times been told, well, Public Works is supposed to take care of that. And yes, they are. They're the ones that would actually do the repairs. But from what I'm understanding, if there is something going on with the facilities, then it is up to us to make a recommendation to the board, especially if it's something that's going to be it's going to need to be included in that year's budget.
Mhm.
So,
I mean, we're in some respect the eyes. It's like,
Are you
an
aware of
extra
this?
pair of eyes. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, basically, and there's been a couple times when things have immediately been taken care of. Other times when it's not in the budget, we'll get to it next year. Sometimes that hasn't always happened. So I think it is important that we keep in mind that we specifically want to send stuff that has a potential cost at a time when the budget is being talked about, or
Right.
if we've already talked about it, when the budget comes up, we send a reminder that this is something that needs to be looked at. Thoughts?
So then, you're talking about now pre-budget hearing talks, pre-budget talks. So
That would be now.
And then as we get closer to the budget, if there's things we've talked about but haven't,
don't we do a committee report in October? That's
We
like
do.
the finalization of.
we do.
Yeah.
And when we have our executive council meeting, which is the chair of all the committees, get together and they basically talk about that report on what we did all year. That's before the budget starts being proposed, so that would be a good time to reiterate what we think should be in the budget.
Yeah.
Sits in on that meeting.
Usually it's at least the board chair. Usually there's one or two other board members and all the chairs of committees.
Johnson?
Usually not. Well, he hasn't been at the two recent ones out there.
I guess well, because he puts the budget together and then he brings it to the board. So it's
Well,
a little
and-
counterintuitive.
That's prior to all the budget and finance meetings where they're gonna take that up.
Mhm.
And then they present it to him.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, this is just for all the committees to get together and explain what they've been doing all year.
There's
That part I
numbers
got,
and
but no, I mean, if you're
objectives.
making recommendations
Too.
that are gonna be costing you, that is gonna be costed out in the next year. I just wondered why, because the board doesn't do the budget.
Right.
But he takes what they want, what their recommendations are to be done, and he prices it, and that then goes in his budget, right?
I mean, I don't know about day-to-day stuff,
Yeah,
certainly
yeah.
for big stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how they work that, it just sort of surprised me.
I also think too that because there's that black hole between what we propose and we don't get any feedback. I think that if we can narrow that hole a little bit, and because sometimes I think we get frustrated. I know I do, because we think something should be done sooner than later, and when it's not done, you know what I mean? And if we had the information, then it would be a lot better.
Mhm.
And the information could be, we don't agree with you. We don't agree that these bathrooms need to be updated at this point. As advisory, we have to accept that.
No,
And with grace, because when we don't necessarily, because we're frustrated because we don't get any information. So,
Another thing about that, not being able to talk to Michelle at all, is that we are spinning our wheels sometimes in parallel with her, that she's doing the same thing. For example, the aerobics class.
Right.
Remember? It was in the activity guide. We didn't even know, but we had already worked on it. for a
Right, but
couple
we
of
had
months.
suggested it, and what we
But we
don't
didn't
know
know.
is, was it our suggestion
Yeah, exactly.
that prompted it, or had Michelle already been
We
considering
don't
it? We have no way of knowing, and I just would like to say that, yes, we need to accept the board's the board's recommendation or, whatever.
Yeah,
Michelle's with grace. However, I do think if you're gonna put your time in on the committee, it's a little bit of a respect thing. If they would explain to help us to understand why.
correct.
And when we have gotten responses, there has been no attempt to help us to understand why in the few occasions when we've gotten responses. And I think in terms of lowering the temperature and improving the relationship, it would be nice for any committee to get that kind of feedback.
And the why could just simply be, you don't think it's necessary. You have to accept that. We're advisors. We don't run the business. It's not our budget. And if, whether it's the board or John or Michelle don't think it's necessary, that's not what we're here to do.
I guess I'm sort of agreeing, not agreeing.
Yeah,
That, yes, you're right. You may say to me, we don't think it's necessary. We don't think it's necessary at this time because it would be nice for a committee who has worked in good faith on a proposal to understand why, because it's not like we sit here and dream this stuff up. At this time, other association members come to us. We are supposedly the eyes and ears of the association. If I make a recommendation in a proposal format and I submit it to the board, who then may or may not submit it to John, and the answer comes back, we don't think it's necessary. I'm sorry, that's like saying to an association member, yeah, not now. I mean, you wouldn't do that. You'd say, I would think that you would talk to the people who have put you on the board in a way that shows a level of respect. And you say, we're not going to go through with that at this time, or we don't believe it's necessary at this time because. And I don't need, a long drawn out thing, but just like, we don't have the money in the budget, or quite honestly, we have other priorities right now and we don't have the time to work on that, or whatever it is, but just something other than, no, not necessary. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
it's,
for me, I don't need a reason.
it just strengthens the relationship. Otherwise, you kind of I personally would come away feeling like, I don't know why I'm doing this. We're doing the best we can. We listen to what people say. We accept their feedback. We submit it to the board in the best way we know possible. And all we're getting is, no, not necessary. Or if we get a response at all.
Yeah, and I just need a response, honestly. I don't care what it says. I just need a response.
Shouldn't it be?
Folks, can you?
Hey,
Yes, Stuart.
Yeah, I just want you to know, every charging document from every committee goes to your liaison. I get them all, and then I forward them all to John's team, and then John communicates back, and 99% of the time, it's something they've either already done or they're already working on. But I understand Vivian's point about maybe communicating back that they're already on whatever point you were concerned about.
Yeah.
I that's a fair point.
okay.
Thank you. Mary, good to see you. Have you got any comments on what we've done so far?
Well, I'm just listening. Yeah, it's been an interesting couple of weeks, I have to say, for our committee. It's been I was down there during the 4th, and I'm heading back down tonight too for a long weekend. I have my recommendation is we need to get raises for our lifeguard team. I know that's not on the agenda, but I highly recommend it. Those folks worked so hard over the weekend, and the ladies and the gentlemen at the gates, my heart went out to them. The lines getting into the pool. I mean, it was a nightmare for them, and they handled it with grace. And there was a lot of brouhaha happening over the weekend, especially up at the yacht club pool. They deserve a raise. I'm telling you, hats off to them, because they handled it with professionalism, with grace. And I'll be honest with you, people weren't real nice.
Right.
But I also think we need, I don't know, maybe we can recommend a way to handle that, because the lines were so long at 9 o'clock in the morning to get in. And some of those families waited for hours to get in. And I understand they all wanted to get into the pools and that's great, but there's got to be a better way to handle it so that they can get into the pool, but our staff aren't being beat up over it. Because it got a little ugly at some points. Now I was only at the yacht club and the indoor pool in Montfort that day, but you know, my heart went out to them, you know, because they work really hard for us. So anyway, that's my only suggestion. And I'm still reeling over everything else that happened. I'm still digesting that. I'm on a lot of advisory boards and a lot of other boards, governing boards too. And this has been interesting, just been interesting. That I guess the anger or the disrespect, I don't know what it is. There's an undercurrent there. So anyway.
But Mary, you're not really wanting us to make a recommendation for a raise. I mean, because that's operations. But I get what you're saying and I would like for the minutes to reflect that, you know, kudos to the staff, that they worked their butts off and they did a great job. And those were big crowds to manage and they did it in spite of people becoming a bit angry. But, I mean, we may personally think anybody who does that job isn't being paid enough, but of course that's an operational kind of thing.
I agree. I'm like, they worked so hard and
Brutal.
you know,
Well, but
anyway.
Big family pool.
The important thing is that we all understand and appreciate how hard they all work.
A great staff in place. That's all I
Yeah.
have to say is they handle everything amazing all summer long.
All right, moving on to 3D. Reviewing members' recommendations and concerns regarding the aquatic facilities, programs, and activities. We kind of hit on this a little bit because that's part of the back and forth that happened was due to the email we got. You know, anybody who's a full member can go onto the website, pull up Aquatics, and email anybody on the committees. So, you know, when we get that, our concern is we forward it to the board. If it's something immediate, we also send it to info at Ocean Pines and we get a response. The response we got from the first letter came very quickly. And it looked like John had asked Michelle to send Rick, our liaison, a breakdown of what the duties of the guards are.
Right.
Which she did and went through it. It's all stuff we knew. The only thing it didn't do was address one point that the letter that I got was questioning in how early do they start getting ready to close? And an hour and a half before closing time was really what the issue was. So
See, the way I read that though, and what's part of the operation is that the lifeguards are constantly throughout the day and full staff, to your point, are constantly cleaning up, putting the
Right.
chairs where they belong. So to me, I wasn't then 100%. I took it as, well, they weren't closing the pool. They were just straightening at that early time because that's what you do when a lot of people leave and you got to put the chairs back and stuff.
Sure.
So I felt like she did address it. I could have read it very differently than you guys did.
well, and maybe it was just a difference in how you interpreted
Yeah. everything.
But it is something that we are set in our C-15, something we're supposed to do. So
The bottom line, I think, on that thing that happened there with that letter is it's about the customer experience.
Right.
It's they felt strongly enough to write a really long descriptive letter about what was happening and how they felt about it.
Right.
It was a nice letter. They weren't,
Yeah, and it was a very nice letter.
With recommendations on how to solve the problem.
Yeah.
It's, the customer experience. They needed to, get some feedback on that
Right.
and not, beyond, this is how we do it. Right, so.
Well,
whatever
I
happens,
trust, right, but I trust that Michelle is the manager, and the good manager she is, she reached out and she did get, handle that.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? So I was just like, well, I think we're done with this now. You know what I mean?
Right.
Let's,
You know,
let's move on, please.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Let's resend it to info
Yeah.
motion.
that's it, we're done.
I mean, I don't, you're right, and I don't, and if somebody did not get back to the couple, or they did not address their concerns with the time, what time of day they did this, it's up to the couple then to come back and say, yeah, I hear you, I know the guards had to clean up, but that's now become between the couple and
And Michelle.
Michelle.
Exactly,
And
exactly.
that's how Rochelle wants it, and that's how they want it, that's correct.
Right.
Moving on to 3E. 3E basically says that one of our functions is monitoring the condition, care, and maintenance of the aquatic facility, and to advise the board and aquatic professional of any specific problems or concerns. And this is the one that I think has inadvertently caused us the most pushback, because every time that we have looked at the facilities and talked about issues that are either safety related or maintenance related or whatever, we've been told basically that's not our purview. And it says so right here that that is something we're supposed to be looking at, and then advising the board that, hey, you should be aware that this is an issue. In my interpretation, it means that we are supposed to have a specific task and function for the committee to advise the board on issues related to conditions, care, and maintenance of the entire pool facility, including the buildings, because that's part of the overall facility. Any other thoughts on whether the building is part of the facility?
That is the facility.
It is a facility.
Right. And that would also include the sidewalks and whether it's wooden or cement or whatever, that's on the property.
That's how you
But
get
again,
into the
that
building.
goes back to that rub. You know what I mean? Because right now, I think it feels like there's two sides. If we see something, it's annoying to them, rather than, just want to, just want to make sure you're aware of it. We're not seen as working together. And I think that's the problem. So it's not how we're doing it. It's not the fact that we are doing it. And so I don't think we're doing anything wrong. It's just how we're seen. And so it's just that constant rub that we need to try to fix somehow and understand that we just want to make sure that you see it. We're not suggesting nobody's not doing their job. We're not suggesting, you know what I mean? We're just another set of eyes for you. And guess what? If we can catch something, because you have a big job going around that you have, that's great.
So how the committee is seen by whom? The board, by the staff?
I mean, I've not talked to the board, but by the staff, number one, that I can tell you.
Okay.
And just, if you just take a step back a moment and look at the issues that we've had, you would feel the same way. So how do we change? I thought we were on a good road there for a while.
More like a more collaborative.
Collaborative, right? We're just trying to collaborate, but that's not how it's set
Yeah,
up.
we're not
It's
challenging.
not set up that way.
Well, let me ask this. I'm the one that has written a lot of the proposals, and of course, I sent them out to everybody, but is the format that we're making the suggestions, either too forward or nasty or anything that,
I would think,
I mean, is it because of the way we're writing it?
I just think it's because of the way we're positioned. It's not us and it's not
Okay.
them. But it's the fact that it isn't us and them. That's the problem, if that makes sense. We're not doing anything wrong. That I could see. We're just trying to be the eyes and ears. We're trying to represent everybody. Making sure everybody's having a good time, the business is growing. I see, and our intent is really, really good. But when there can't be communication between, with Michelle, and I agree with John. We should not be approaching Michelle. She's got a big job. It's not her job is to manage us.
Right.
But you should at least be able to sit down with Michelle on a quarterly basis, you know what I mean? And so that there's no relationship. When there's not a relationship and it's deemed, and it has been adversarial, so, we've had our adversarial moments, not because we've created them, by the way.
But mistakes have been made
Exactly.
and not always
And
forgiven.
so then when that happens and there's not an ability to build a relationship, then anything we do is nails on a chalkboard. And I think that's what's happening. And we need the board and John to really understand and agree with, we're functioning with everybody. And open Michelle, help us get to Michelle to open that up. I mean, you're right, she's rightfully closed, because we've earned that. Not us personally, but.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Perhaps
So-
mistakes have been made and to a certain degree,
Yeah, and if
Committee
she never
had-
talked to us.
the committee has, for what it's worth, perhaps a reputation.
Yeah.
But I think that's inappropriate based on, some of the good things we've done. Everybody makes mistakes, goodness sakes. I mean, tell the committee, don't do that again, and the minutes, the minutes indicate, and our certainly our videos would indicate that you have more than once told the committee, do not talk with the staff about concerns. And a mistake was made. Okay, we're sorry, that's gonna happen. We're all human beings and there's, multiple people on the board and you can't control everybody's actions. But
It was not sanctioned. What happened was not sanctioned.
it wasn't, and
It
we're
was a
agreeing
growing
with
thing.
that, but right. But I mean, it should not set up an ongoing adversarial relationship between us, the board, and the staff.
But unless we have the ability to allow her to see our intentions and,
I concur,
I don't blame her.
right, but I
Right,
just
so
don't
it's
think,
not her, it's not us, right?
Right.
It's how the system is set up, and we've earned it. Not us personally, but we are who our members are, right? So,
I guess I think it's a little bit of a rub to say we've earned it. We've made mistakes. That doesn't mean we're out. We were at that point in time, or at this point in time, out to get anybody, you got your moments,
but when
Yeah.
that's all you see, that's all you know.
right, but that's not all that they should be seeing, because that's not all that we have done.
My point exactly. So unless there's an opportunity to have communication,
Yes,
human nature, you're only gonna remember the bad things,
Yeah.
or see the bad things.
until you get
and
to
that-
know the people that you're
Well,
attempting to communicate with.
Exactly. So unless that crevice can close a little bit, we're really not gonna get a
But
whole.
I don't think any of the committees, am I wrong? And I don't believe any of the committees are allowed to
No.
talk to the staff
No.
person who is, in charge of their area.
Isn't he in every golf meeting, golf committees, government?
That's up to the individual department.
Oh, so it is
Yeah.
up to the department.
I believe so.
So I thought it was up to John.
So no, well,
Well,
yeah,
I'm
no.
staying away from that.
Yeah, I'm not
Yeah.
sure.
Okay.
pretty sure.
I thought all this time that for whatever reason, it was the way it is, like the
Well,
staff,
that's-
the staff and the committees arborvitae, you don't mix.
Yeah, I understand.
So just one question, because I'm getting confused with all of this conversation about how naughty we've been. Is this all pertaining to what just happened when she took pictures and spoke to the staff? Is that what you're
Well,
referring to? Because,
Something.
because,
that's the most recent, but,
It's only
um,
been 3-4 years.
yeah.
It's in the past.
It goes
2.5.
back to,
is this the gentleman before? who
Yes.
was
Yeah.
Multiple years ago who
Yeah.
said something he shouldn't have said?
yeah.
So we're talking about how we are all perceived based on two individuals over a
Let's say 3 year.
3-year
But
time
when
period.
you have any communication or really have any relationship, that's what you're gonna remember.
Yeah.
That's just human
I,
nature.
I just want to make sure that there's not something else I'm aware of, because I'm sitting here thinking, oh my gosh, what have we done that is so awful? And
Well,
that just,
I
it's
don't-
two instances that you're talking about, so.
Maybe there's something else.
I personally think that if you look back at 5, 6 years ago, we would make recommendations about the facilities, about, the ladder steps, about the buildings, about this and that. And basically, they were looked at. Nobody ever said you can't do that. It's only been in the last 2, maybe 3 years, that when we send something, a recommendation suggesting that, the beach club, the outside could be painted, or, the inside needs some, whatever it is, we were told that's not your purview, that's public works. Or that's operations, you can't be involved in that.
Right, right.
And I understand, we're not gonna get
Confusing.
involved in
That's not very,
operations.
see, it's an operational decision they don't want you to be making. They want you, they need to give the input though.
Right, and that's why I wanted to go over specifically what the resolution says, because, it specifically tells us this is what our job is supposed to be. So if we do the job, we follow the guidelines that are written down, have been for a long time, we're doing what we're supposed to do. We're not supposed to get involved with telling people how to do the operational part of it.
Right.
We're not supposed to directly tell people when we're looking at things that, hey, you should get this fixed. We're not allowed to do that. And we
Right.
understand.
And
So
other than one person, I don't think any of us have ever done that.
it's all a matter of making sure that we as a committee understand what the resolutions say and that we follow them. And hopefully that the board and anybody else, after looking at this, will understand that we're trying to follow what the rules say. And if the rules have changed, let us know. Otherwise, let us just do what we're supposed to be doing. And if we do send a recommendation or whatever, if you're gonna do it or not do it, whatever the decision is fine, but let us know what that decision is.
Yeah.
Well, and I think when we're viewing things, and maybe you don't know, but like swimming racket, I know that we said something about the sidewalk in the front, and that directly came from a handicapped woman in a wheelchair who was trying to maneuver her way into the pool. And so there was a very specific incident that happened with that one recommendation. And the slippery steps, there was multiple times were specific people complaining about having slipped in there. So it seems like things that we have been recommending that are perhaps for facilities have come from specific instances and people who have talked to us about issues, not because we're going out, looking for stuff. It's just things that have happened. And that's where our recommendations have come from. And I don't know if that's something that we have not been made clear. I don't think that's accurate, but maybe perhaps that's it.
Well,
So, one of
and
the things.
I think going forward, we're all a little more aware of where we may have not
Yeah.
written things as clearly as they should have been, or we didn't make ourselves as clear on certain issues, you know, so that we can improve the overall ability of the committee to do what we're supposed to be doing, and also to get a better relationship with the board and Michelle, and just how they respond to what we're trying to do.
I think everybody here is on the side of everyone who's involved in aquatics. We think they are the most amazing group
Yeah.
of people. And they're doing a wonderful job.
Excuse me, guys.
Mhm.
I have to jump out of this meeting. I have some other things going on in my office. I got patients that are starting to come into the waiting room. So it was a very good meeting. Thank you very much. Vivian, your point is well taken. And I'm sorry, but I got to jet. Have a great rest of your day, folks.
You too. Bye-bye. So I think we've hit all of the main points of the agenda.
Yeah.
Okay.
Lots of notes for the
Yeah.
minutes.
One of the new suggestions that I'm gonna work on is seeing what we do to see if we can get amendment to the C01 with the committee liaison, making sure they get a response to any recommendations. Just, I'm not sure how to do that yet, but I am looking at that.
I wonder if the minutes could also just reflect that the committee voiced confusion as to the role of the liaison in getting back to the committee. I'll put that in. Maybe that'll help
For
temper it a
sure.
little bit.
And we don't have any of the public here, so we don't have any public comments. I want to check on the next meeting.
It's been pouring out
Oh,
there.
I'm so sorry.
And actually, I've been smiling because there's a woman out there with her little one and they're playing in the rain. I just got the biggest kick out of it.
Fine.
They were having the best time. Did you see them?
No,
I have like I had a bird's eye view of it. That's why I kept smiling. They would do something and I'd start to smile, but they were adorable.
Next month, I've got family coming from the 11th to the 15th.
Me
So
too. So,
I was gonna say I could do the 14th, but I'd prefer to switch it to the 21st if that works for everybody.
Yeah, 21st.
well, I have something going on the 21st, from like 10 to 3. Yeah, so I'm out of pocket on the 21st, but I also couldn't have done the 14th, so sorry.
Everybody else okay with
I have
it?
nothing. So be Wednesday, same time.
Thursday.
Sorry.
No, I made a mistake. My thing is July 21. Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, I can do the 20.
Okay, so we're gonna look at August 21st at 11:30 here. And I will send a note to Linda so that she gets the information out for the teleconference thing here on her.
And just so you guys know, my email, somehow it got messed up. So I sometimes don't see your emails because it's coming to an iCloud account that I don't use. So if you guys could just check and make sure that it is on at AOL.com rather than at iCloud. So I apologize if
Okay.
anybody sent anything and I haven't
Yeah,
responded.
that's what I've got. So it's still Nin.
Rad 02. AOL.com. Yeah. Yeah, so if I missed anybody or I apologize.
Another question.
Yes, ma'am.
Are there next steps regarding the bathrooms at Stringham?
Let's call in into the meeting. Does anybody have any other topics for the meeting?
no,
Okay,
At the next meeting, would the is it time now to focus on recommendations for the next budget year?
So,
Or is that too
Yeah.
soon?
no.
That in
August, yeah.
November, so it's
Yeah.
August, September.
Yeah.
That was in
Yeah,
October,
we're-
or November that we.
In September. and-
Okay, just wanted to get a essence
So
of.
August and
Right.
September. I'm certainly thinking about
So can I get a motion to end the meeting?
my motion to end the meeting.
Second?